This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Folks, did you know there's an election coming up this year? Really? Who knew? Michelle's going to talk about some historic elections in Kansas. And since this is Michelle, I thought we should bling it up a little bit. My ever-increasing effort to keep up with Michelle. Good morning. How are you doing this morning, Michelle?
Good morning, Deb. When Kansas was a territory, election season meant one thing: voting, sometimes early and often. Today, let's look at the controversial nature of territorial elections. With the passage of the Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854, the fate of the new territory would be settled at the ballot box. Voters, property-owning and tax-paying men, would decide if Kansas entered the Union as a free or slave state. As settlers streamed into the territory, the battle lines were drawn almost immediately. When men made their way to the ballot box, anything could and did happen. In March 1855, voters in Fort Scott found their 253 registered voters greatly augmented. One observer noted that most of the ballots cast in the county came from covered wagons camped on the Marmonton bottoms for one day. Only men just swarmed over from Missouri. Some Missourians staked flags to trees and claimed to be homesteaders. Others lined up and voted only to return to cast another ballot after changing their clothes, shaving facial hair, and altering their appearance. At election's end, nearly 700 men cast votes in favor of pro-slavery candidates and laws. Elections for the territorial constitutions were fraught with fraud and deception as well. In Lecompton, bogus ballots were stuffed in a candle box. At polling locations across the territory, intimidation ruled the day. Free state leaders like Charles Robinson wrote to supporters in the East for assistance. In a letter to Eli Thayer, Robinson wrote, "Another election in Kansas Territory has passed, and like the first, was controlled entirely by Missourians." Of the Missourians, Robinson observed, encampments were formed in the vicinity of the polls, varying in size according to the number of voters required in the several districts to secure their end. At Lawrence, about 1,000 Missourians took possession of the polls and threatened to hang one of the judges who was formerly from Missouri but anti-slavery. Robinson asked Thayer to aid the cause of voting. "Cannot your secret society send us 200 of Sharp's rifles as a loan till this question is settled? Also, a couple of field pieces? If they will, I think they will be well used and preserved." By 1857, Kansans were called upon to protect voting precincts. The Kansas Volunteers for the Protection of the Ballot Box were mustered into service across the territory to ensure that voting fraud, intimidation, and voting early and often came to an end. In 1859, after struggle, voting irregularities, and bloodshed, territorial voters approved the Wyandotte Constitution that outlawed slavery and ushered Kansas closer to admission to the Union. I hope you enjoyed our look at territorial elections in Kansas, and that you'll join me next time for another historical adventure somewhere around Kansas.
I want to thank each and every one of my colorful guests for joining us this morning. It's been a great time. I know you've enjoyed it at home, and
we'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer it and work with you.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agamandkansas.com.